Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says it will take some time before inflation is under control and warned it won't be an easy ride for many Americans.
Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth. Moreover, there will very likely be some softening of labor market conditions. While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses.
For more, Gene Sperling now joins me. He's a senior advisor to President Biden. Gene, it's good to see you. Chairman Powell, right after those remarks.
Thank you, John.
Chairman Powell, right after those remarks, said these are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. So just as a starting place, I wonder if you agree with the chairman's diagnosis about the inevitable pain that's going to be a part of this next period that we're in.
Well, John, I think, as you know, one of the challenges that we have in our respect for an independent Federal Reserve is that, this White House, unlike past White Houses when Federal Reserve chairmen or chairwomen have had to take tough medicine, respects their independence and is not going to comment or criticize the actions they take. I think what we all realize is there are many strengths in the U.S. economy in terms of really historic job growth, 3.5% unemployment, a lot less stress and delinquencies and hardship for a lot of American families. But there is serious global inflation. Some of that has been added to due to the war in Ukraine, and we have not escaped it. And I think what we believe is that we are seeing a lot of resilience in this economy. And what that resilience means in having so many people working, such low unemployment, having people's savings and checking accounts still relatively strong, is that even with that tough medicine that the Federal Reserve may take, we think we have the resilience to get to where people want us to all get to, which is more stable growth with lower prices, but without giving up so much of these historic job gains and historically strong labor market that we've seen.
But I'm not going to misinterpret you as suggesting that this next period is not going to be without its bumps. As you said, there are parts of the economy, despite the resilience you've testified to, there are parts of this economy that will be difficult, and getting prices down may make it more so. So I guess my next question then is, what is the central project for the White House in this next period with respect to the economy? What's priority number one?
Right. I mean, I think that we need to do our part to get prices lower. Yes, when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, which they've said they've done and they're going to do, obviously for somebody who's trying to get a mortgage or a car loan, as the chairman said, that can be a bit of pain. But we've also seen some positive things happening. We've seen that gas prices have come down every single week this summer. They're now down from $5.02 to about $3.80. That's saving $120 for a typical family. But what we can do is everything in our power. The release of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was a way that the president brought down pressure on gas prices. The things he's passed in the Inflation Reduction Act that will lower prescription drug costs, that will cap insulin at $35, that will give people lower cost and incentives to do more energy efficient purchases for their home or for their car. Those are all things that this administration can do to complement the effort to lower prices for families while still trying to keep this historically strong labor market. And we do think the fact that so many people are working and still drawing a decent, strong salary is going to offer some resilience to, some of the tough medicine the Fed may deliver. And again, our goal is to make that transition to more stable growth. We can't have the record job growth we've had this last year forever, but can we get to a stable job growth, stable growth, get prices lower without giving up all the gains? I mean, that is our goal, and my guess is that's the Federal Reserve goals as well.
So let me ask you a last question on this question of inflation and what the White House can or cannot do to help it. Jason Furman, you know where this is coming. You've worked with him. He was the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors.
Yes.
Said this about the president's student loan relief plan. Furman said the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm. It's hard to argue that whatever number of hundreds of millions of dollars here isn't doing harm to the central project we have as a country, which is dealing with inflation. So just to untangle the double negative there, he's saying that the student loan relief is going to hurt this #1 project, which is getting a hold of inflation. What's your answer to that?
You know, I have a lot of respect for Jason Furman, as you know, but I think he's wrong on this one. And I don't think you have to take the word of this White House. You can look at Goldman Sachs. You can look at Moody's. You can look at one of Jason's mentors, Nobel Prize winner Joe Stiglitz. What they all say, John, is that the amount of relief that you're offering people, that alone might have been a tiny bit inflationary, but it's happening at the same time that the president is going to be asking all students to resume their loan payments starting in January of 2023. So what you're looking at is what is the combined impact of those two. And again, outside independent analysts like Goldman Sachs have said that not only is that a wash, but it might be slightly deflationary. So I understand Jason Furman does not like this policy much, but I think on the idea that it is actually going to be inflationary, I think outside independent experts, again, including those at Wall Street, disagree with him, and I think they have the stronger argument.
All right, Gene Sperling, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, John.